Leland Vittert woke up early and is joining us right now. Leland, let's start with the positive news. There may be hostages freed as soon as Thanksgiving. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, exactly. And look, anytime you can bring hostages home, it's something worth taking a moment and celebrating and realizing the hell that these people have been in for the past 46 days, held underground, possibly tortured. We know some of them have died in captivity. We also know that they're being held by a group that put babies into ovens and roasted them. So you can imagine the view that they have of hostages and how they would be treated in captivity. All that said, the question becomes, what is the best way to bring all of the hostages home? And is it to have this 4-day pause and to allow Hamas to regroup and rearm? There are some other parts of this deal, including limiting the amount of surveillance assets the Israelis can have over the Gaza Strip, limiting what the Israelis can do, allowing all of this aid in, which we know Hamas steals most, if not all, of the humanitarian aid that comes in to the Gaza Strip. So all in all, yes, good for these 50 who come home. Does it mean that those last 190 or so, including a number of Americans, are held for longer because of this pause? That's yet to be told. And I think we have to keep in mind, Prime Minister Netanyahu has been under enormous domestic political pressure to make some kind of deal and bring some hostages home. And Joe Biden has been under enormous domestic political pressure to get some kind of pause or ceasefire from the left wing of his party. Both of those contributed to this.
Are there pressures on all of these world leaders to extend the truce? Because from what we're seeing, every single day that the truce is extended, if it's 5 days, another 10 hostages are released per day. And I'm sure that's what people want on the one hand. And on the other hand, it's this violent double-edged sword to give Hamas so much more precious time.
Well, if another 10 are released, let's just remember who we're dealing with here, number one. And number two, does that mean at the end of 23 days, all of the hostages are released and Hamas gives up its bargaining power? That seems really doubtful. In the end, Israel has the ability to ramp back up and has shown that it can go from being completely surprised to having battlefield momentum in about 30 days, no matter what. And Hamas has certainly been degraded, and Hamas is going to be unable to cross the Israeli line that cuts Gaza north to south. So there's some different things here. I think the point you're trying to make is a very good one, which is that how does Israel, after 4 days, and when invariably there's going to be a lot of pressure and a lot of public relations pressure to not restart the war and to talk about the suffering of the Palestinians and how negotiations need to be given a chance, how does Israel go against all of that public pressure and restart the war? That's a serious concern for them. And I think that's something that we're going to see over the next 4 or 5 days, is sort of massive information campaign, both by Hamas and its friends in the media and by the Israelis, to try to tell their story and keep in the top of people's minds why this fight is happening.
Yeah, a dozen countries represented within those more than 200 hostages. Very few people have shed a light on that. And then some of the atrocities people still question and think are made up, but they're true, they're factual. A question for you, and this is something I first thought of. If Israel, and it is part of the truce deal, stops the fighting, completely pauses it, what happens to those ground troops, those IDF forces that are already inside Gaza? Are they sitting ducks for Hamas?
Well, yes and no. Yes, they could be attacked. That would break the truce, right? And the right of self-defense for any military is always pretty much sacrosanct. So I don't think you're going to be having a lot of ambushes happen before the truce gets blown up. No pun intended. But that again is something that the Israelis are going to have to grapple with. And I think it's why we're seeing that it's phased, the hostage release, over a few days, is to ensure that both sides rein in their fighters and ensure that this truce happens. I don't think you have to worry about the Israelis. I think you more have to worry about Hamas. Again, the Israelis have this enormous problem that Hamas is now able to regroup, it's able to rearm, it's able to move supplies through its tunnels, all without fear of offensive Israeli military operations. That's a huge win for Hamas, especially for Hamas, who's on the ropes right now.
Yeah, and it'll.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.